Hello and welcome to Granada Reports, live with the latest across the northwest.
Hello, on the programme this evening.
Border conflict excitement building ahead of the Battle of Britain. We've been to the very edge of our region to see where loyalties lie ahead of England versus Wales.
It's the Dragons against the Lions tonight.
And the Dragons are going to
do it.
Win.
Let's see if they're right.
Also on the programme tonight.
Can it be the end of the day for Night and Day, the famous music venue in court over a row over noise?
Going to the polls, we look ahead to the by-election in the city of Chester.
A fairy tale ending to the programme, the Rodgers and Hammerstein version of Cinderella that's arrived in our region.
And in the weather, the mist and fog rolled in overnight and stayed with us into this morning, but will it remain with us throughout the rest of the week? All the details coming up.
Well, first tonight, as you saw, excitement is building across our region as England take on Wales as firm favourites to progress to the knockout phase of the World Cup.
Yeah, we're going to be hearing from one of the many fan parks dotted across the northwest, and we want to know where you will be watching the game, which kicks off in just under an hour's time.
Of course, our region has a border with Wales. Let's see what our reporter Paul Crone found out when we sent him to sample that very special pre-match atmosphere.
Flint Castle, built during King Edward I's campaign to conquer Wales. But tonight the Welsh are hoping to turn the tables as the North Wales town looks out over the Dee estuary, and across the water lies Liverpool, just 12 miles away as the crow flies. It would be wrong to say World Cup fever has hit Flint, but passions are still running high.
Wales! The Dragons!
We've got some great players. If they get their act together tonight, they can beat England.
I was born and bred in Flint. I'm a Welshman through and through.
Well, I hope Wales win, but I don't know.
At the lunchbox in Flint, staff are hoping a Welsh victory will be on the menu.
It's the Dragons against the Lions tonight.
And the Dragons are going to
do it.
Win.
We've done it before.
It's anyone's game, the way the World Cup's been going lately. I mean, Japan against Germany, you would never have thought that, would you?
It's an all-or-nothing game for the Welsh in their first World Cup since, wait for it, 1958. England, made up of a host of Northwest talent, must improve if they're to reach the latter stages of the tournament. So the battle lines have been drawn up for tonight's crucial game. Essentially, Wales must win, and Iran versus the United States of America must end in a draw unless Wales can beat England 4-0, a tall order. And one of the town centre pubs personifies the challenge ahead. Who do you think is the star for Wales and who do you think is the star for England?
Star for England? I don't know.
Don't care.
Have they got one? No, I don't really.
It's anyone's game, but we're behind them.
Oh, yeah.
We're behind them.
We're all out to watch them tonight, aren't we?
All the
We're going to
way.
get behind them.
It's going to be a tough ask, isn't it?
I know, but they have nothing to lose.
The excitement of tonight's match can lead to World Cup madness, though.
If Wales win tonight, if they score 4 goals...
You're coming into it tomorrow.
I'm coming in, naked tomorrow.
And by around 9 o'clock tonight, we'll know for sure if the Welsh Cup dream lies in ruins. Paul Crone, ITV News, Flint.
Well, you heard that here tonight on Granada Reports, and not a single England supporter to be found in the beautiful border town of Flint. How about this side of the border then?
Our reporter Will Tullis is at a fan zone in Manchester, gauging the mood.
Well, the doors have just opened, and as you can see, fans are pouring in the queue at this For the Fans event. We've even heard a few chants of it's coming home, and as you've been hearing, this is a crucial match between England and Wales, and I'm delighted to be joined now by a man who knows all about big matches. It's former Blackburn and Manchester United player David May. David, thanks for joining us.
Welcome.
How are you feeling about tonight?
Yeah, looking forward to it. It should be good. Obviously, the first game was against Iran. That was a fantastic result. Against the USA wasn't the best. But no, looking forward to tonight. Should be a good game. Game we need to win as well.
Absolutely, and obviously you've been involved in some huge matches, the treble-winning Man United team. How will those players be feeling in the dressing room right now, David?
They'll be a little bit apprehensive, I would imagine. But, you know, once they cross that white line, they know exactly what to do. So I don't think there'll be many butterflies. But listen, it's a big game for them. They have to make sure they get the win and win the group.
And we've got a lot of Northwest talent in that squad, David. We've got Rashford, Foden, Walker. Who do you think is getting on the score sheet tonight?
Well, I'd love to see Foden start. I think, you know, what a talent he is. He's incredible for Man City. And obviously, you know, I thought maybe Sterling, Mason Mount, they should make way for him, because a talent like that, Sterling shouldn't be sitting on the bench. Really looking forward to it. And Marcus as well. He's found his form as well this season with United. So, yeah, fingers crossed them two can play.
That's all, David. Thank you very much. I'm also delighted to be joined by some England fans over here. We've got Tyler. How are you feeling about the game tonight?
I'm so looking forward to it. I want the Iran game over again. I want many goals. Come on, England.
And listen, you're wearing an England shirt there. Who have you got on the back, sorry?
I got Trent. My dad bought it for me. I'm a Villa fan, but yeah, I'd like to see Trent play.
And you, sir, what do you think the score's going to be tonight?
3-0, hopefully. I am from Wales, but I hope England do win tonight.
So you're from Wales, sorry, but you think England
No, well,
will
I've
win?
got all English family, so come on, England.
And that's number 10, if I'm not mistaken. Is that Grealish on the back?
Super Jack! Super Jack!
And lads, is it coming home tonight?
Of course it is! Come on, England!
Thank you. Well, it was a disappointing result for both England and Wales last week, so let's just hope that tonight's game will give these fans something to cheer about.
Will Tullis reporting there. Those fans are excited, aren't they?
They're certainly excited. It's nice to have something to cheer about these days.
Certainly is, Elaine. David May's wish has come true. Phil Foden and Marcus Rashford are in that England team, along with 6 other Northwest stars.
No pressure then. And we asked you where you were planning to watch the game tonight, and Hannah tweeted us and said, I'll be watching with a nice cuppa from the very warm and comfortable sofa in my home. And she says, I'll be supporting both teams.
This one from Tina Shepherd. She says she'll be wrapped up in blankets watching the football.
Now, Linda Maxwell says she's missing her favourite programme, Granada Reports, to go out and watch the football. She better watch on catch-up later.
Yeah, well, we'll forgive you this time, Linda. And Northern Blue 57 said, Battle of Britain, it's not even a big game.
Well, that's us told.
Yeah.
I wonder if he'd be watching tonight. Thanks for all your messages. We love it when you get in touch and join the conversation.
Well, next this evening, and the row over loud music, which could threaten one of the region's most famous entertainment venues.
Yes, the Night and Day Cafe in Manchester's Northern Quarter has hosted some of the biggest names in music over the years, but it's the subject of a noise complaint. They don't like the music from the residents who've moved into flats nearby, and it's ended up in court.
Our reporter Claire Hannah's outside Manchester Magistrates now. Claire, you've been at the hearing all day. Tell us a bit more about the background to this case.
Well, as you say, the Night and Day Cafe is absolutely huge in Manchester's music scene. It's iconic. It's been open in the Northern Quarter for more than 30 years. And over the years, some of the biggest bands around have played there at the start of their careers. They include Elbow, the Manic Street Preachers and the Arctic Monkeys. But if you think about it, when it first opened, Manchester was a very different place. Not many people lived in the city centre, but that has changed. And that is why we are here today. Last year, when lockdown finally ended and restrictions were lifted and the Night and Day Cafe finally reopened, there was a complaint from a flat next door about the noise. Manchester City Council slapped a noise abatement notice on the Night and Day Cafe, and the owners are now appealing that notice.
Well, it is a fantastic venue, Claire, and Manchester City Council are at pains to point out they don't want to close down Night and Day, do they?
Yeah, the council adamant about that. They say that is not what they're doing here. In effect, what they want to happen is for the Night and Day Cafe to turn the music down. There's even been a suggestion of using some kind of acoustic limiter, which when the sound reaches a certain level, it will cut the sound. The owners, though, say that wouldn't work. They say no DJs, no bands would want to come and play there if they knew they were facing the prospect of their gig being stopped halfway through. They also say they have taken every every reasonable measure to stay within the noise levels allowed. Now, in fact, giving evidence today, Jennifer Smithson, who's the owner of the Night and Day Cafe, was close to tears. She said she was at an absolute loss as to why she was here. She said this business has been in her family for 31 years. It's all she's known since she was 12. She's terrified of losing it. And she also said she thought the council will be proud of what the Night and Day Cafe does for Manchester. Now, the Night and Day Cafe is also arguing that living accommodation shouldn't have been given planning permission so close to somewhere like that without appropriate soundproofing. The hearing will continue here at Manchester Magistrates Court tomorrow.
Yeah, let's see how this plays out. Claire, thank you.
On to some other news now, and around 200 refuse workers in Wirral will go on strike next week in a dispute over pay. They're employed by the waste disposal firm Biffa on a contract for the council. The action by Unite Union members will begin on Monday and will run until Saturday. The company said it's doing all it can to avoid the strike.
Manchester Airport has unveiled plans to become the first UK airport with a direct supply of low-carbon hydrogen fuel. The aim is to help the airport reduce its carbon footprint. More than 60 airlines operating from Manchester will be supplied with the sustainable fuel as a priority.
The fire service has released a video warning of the dangers of batteries after an explosion blew out a window at a house near Oldham. It was caused by batteries for electric bikes, which had been modified. Officers say it shows the need to store and charge them properly.
A charity submitted plans to Preston Council for a multi-million-pound youth zone. The organisation Onside said the state-of-the-art centre will support young people and be staffed by highly skilled youth workers. If it's approved, it will be built on Tithe Barn Street, opposite the bus station.
And remember this, the tram that knocked down and killed Coronation Street villain Alan Bradley will have a new home after it was saved. The 1989 episode, which saw Bradley chase his long-suffering partner Rita Fairclough into the path of the tram in Blackpool, was watched by 27 million people. A public appeal has raised the £2,500 to put it on display at Blackpool's Tram Town Museum.
Next this evening, and like most places, the concern over the cost of living crisis is a big topic of conversation in Chester. And on Thursday, people there have also got the job of electing a new MP.
It's currently a Labour seat, which the former MP Chris Matheson is sitting on a majority of just over 6,000. Well, our reporter Anna Yosef's been talking to some of the candidates, hoping to get the winning vote.
Backing herself. No prizes for guessing who Labour candidate Samantha Dixon's voting for in the Chester by-election. The ex-council leader's hoping to replace her party's former MP Chris Matheson after he resigned following allegations of sexual misconduct.
People tell me that they are fed up with the Tory government and that they want to change. There are people who are very worried about their personal economies, if you like. They're looking at their mortgages and worrying about what's going to happen when their mortgage comes to an end. They're looking at a real uncertainty, and they want to know that somebody's in Parliament fighting their corner. They know me. They know that I'll do that because I've got a strong record of delivery, and I think people have confidence when they know that somebody's a strong voice for them.
Cheshire East councillor Elizabeth Wardlord standing for the Tories. A nurse for more than 40 years, she wants people to be aware of the caring side of the Conservative Party.
The argument is always there isn't enough money coming from central government, but over the last couple of years we've seen 400 billion invested in maintaining support for families through the furlough system, through business grants. We've had currently we've got the cost of living investment, 37 billion coming in from that. 10,400 families in Chester benefiting from that cost of living payment. There's a lot of money out there. I have priorities that I think are important for Chester, but they're not as important as the residents of Chester's priorities.
Hello. Paul Bowers is the Greens candidate and was Cheshire's first Green councillor. A painter and decorator by trade, he thinks it's time the political system had a complete revamp.
The system's broken, we know it, and we limp on living like we can carry on doing the same things we've always done and get away with it. But, I mean, it's driven by environmental breakdown. But there's an economic and societal breakdown as well, which are all part of the same thing. So we need completely new answers instead of just messing around the edges and trying to do the same things, a slight difference between red and blue. We need to fundamentally look at what we do. Utilities, public transport, home insulation, things that aren't going to be addressed by markets.
Rob Hurd's the Liberal Democrat candidate and head of modern languages at a local school. He believes the skills he's learnt in the classroom will help him stand up for Chester in the corridors of power.
I think a lot of the people that we're seeing in Westminster at the moment are people who have made a career out of being a politician. I think we're facing the biggest drop in living standards that's ever been recorded. And I think that needs people who have got some real life experience, some people who are experiencing wage cuts, who are experiencing massive hikes in mortgage rates. People like me who can approach that with an informed decision and who are going to approach it with the honesty and integrity that actually those decisions deserve.
Can I give you one of our leaflets to read?
You can indeed, yes.
Spreading the word, Jeannie Barton, Reform UK's candidate, believes people are eager for change.
Yes, I do feel that Reform can have an impact in Chester in the fact the number of people coming to our stall and talking to us and saying how they're despondent with what's gone on and how things have been looked after in Chester in the past with the previous MP. So therefore they're looking for somebody new who isn't frightened to go out there and challenge the government.
With a record 9 candidates vying for votes when the polls open on December the 1st, the only certainty at this stage is the City of Chester will have a new MP just in time for Christmas. Anna Yosef, ITV News.
Yeah, we will, of course, bring you the results of that by-election on Thursday here on Granada Reports. Here is a full list of candidates standing in that by-election. There is more information about them on our website, the usual address, itv.com/Granada.
And our political correspondent Leisha McNally is at Westminster now for a bit of analysis. Leisha, you'd think with a 6,000 majority the Conservatives would think we've got a chance here, but these aren't normal times, are they?
Wow, how long has it been since we had normal times? But you're right, this by-election does have a bit of a different feel to it, certainly compared to those very high-stakes contests we saw early in the year in places like Wakefield and Tiverton and Honiton, when politicians were looking at it almost as a referendum on Boris Johnson's leadership. 2 prime ministers later, and this one does feel a lot more local. I think the very fact that there are a record 9 candidates standing speaks to that. Hugely important, of course, for the people of the City of Chester, but normally you'd expect a mid-season by-election to loom quite large in the political diary nationally as well. But down here in Westminster, Rishi Sunak has just finished his first month on the job with a lot on his plate. There are internal party struggles about plans to build new homes, rows about onshore wind, today discussions about how to police the internet, all while trying to implement the autumn statement. So with all that going on, you can see how fighting for a seat that Labour have held since 2015 might rank a bit lower on the priority list. In fact, they've sent just 1 minister out on the campaign trail, whereas the opposition have really chucked the kitchen sink at this one, sending in party heavyweights like Lisa Nandy, Ed Miliband and the Shadow Chancellor. Of course, the big question is, what are the issues that will decide it for the voters?
As a student, price, it's very expensive here, very. So probably, and also transport. Things like transport are very, very minimal. So we definitely need more.
Like Chester's supposed to deem as somewhere you want to bring visitors. And you look at Chester walls and they're in a state of disrepair and they've been like that for years.
Empty shops, people with no money, homelessness, overcrowded health services, all that sort of thing. And I think it's just the same everywhere. I don't think Chester's any different.
Climate change and making the city like more sustainable is really important, but also conserving like the history that we have here.
So I think the transport is awful, absolutely awful. You know, in some areas you can't get into town after 7 o'clock at night, and you know that puts a lot of people off.
The views and concerns of some residents in Chester. Leisha, we should get the results back in the early hours of Friday morning. What do you think they could tell us?
Well, I think the most interesting thing to look out for isn't just who wins, but how they win and by how much. Labour want to see a comfortable majority here, something they can sell as the first victory of Sunak versus Starmer. The smaller parties will be looking at vote share and seeing how much progress they're making, but the most interesting lesson is for the Conservatives. I don't think the party will be too worried if they don't win on polling day. Governments don't tend to do that well in by-elections, but they will have to look at the numbers and how traditional Conservative voters are behaving. If Conservative voters just don't show up, they can explain that away. By-elections get lower turnouts, as do winter votes, so they won't read too much into people just staying at home. But if Conservative voters do turn out and turn out for other candidates, that could have major implications for other seats all across the northwest and could radically reshape how the next general election will be fought.
Yeah, fascinating stuff. Looking forward to hearing your analysis when we do get those results. Leisha, for now, thank you. In other by-election news, following the resignation of sitting MP Kate Green, there's another Labour seat up for grabs in Stretford and Urmston in Greater Manchester. It's deadline day if you want to vote. You can register online via Trafford Council.
Well, away from all the big issues, here's what's still to come on the programme, including...
A surgical boot instead of a glass slipper, the slightly painful backstory as the Broadway hit Cinderella comes to Manchester.
And in the weather, there's one place who can guarantee it's not going to be foggy tonight. That's Qatar, where England are playing their big match, of course. But the fog and mist rolled in for us overnight last night and remained quite stubborn today and throughout the afternoon in some places. So will it stick with us all week? All the details coming up.
What a contrast in weather there. And it's all about the big game coming up on the ITV News at 6:30 with Mary.
Less than an hour to go until a home nation clash like no other. England and Wales preparing to face each other for the first time in World Cup history. We'll have all the build-up ahead of tonight's big game. Plus, the unanswered question of regulating online content, with accusations the much-delayed online safety bill has been watered down. And what the census tells us about the changing nature of this country. Do join us for those stories and more at 6:30.
Getting that winning feeling. FOW, sponsors of the Granada Sport Report.
OK, away from the World Cup, but staying with football, the former Manchester City and Liverpool defender Kolo Touré has been named as the new manager of Wigan Athletic. Touré won the Premier League with City in 2012 before going on to sign for Liverpool. It's his first job as a manager, and he says he's extremely proud to join Wigan on a 3.5-year deal. The club are currently third from bottom in the Championship. He'll now meet up with the squad on their mid-season training camp in Turkey.
And former footballer Gary Bennett, who started his career at Manchester City in 1979, has collected an MBE from the King, so congratulations to him. He was born in Manchester but spent most of his career at Sunderland and is closely involved with the charity Show Racism the Red Card. He received his honour for services to tackling racism in football. Lovely picture there.
Well, next tonight, it is one of the oldest fairy tales in the world, and it hit the stage as a musical on Broadway 9 years ago.
But now our region has been chosen for the European premiere of Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella, which is now on stage on the slightly smaller Hope Mill Theatre in Manchester.
And as our entertainment correspondent Caroline Whitmore found out, this show brings a whole new meaning to the phrase, "This glass slipper doesn't fit."
This is the European premiere of Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella here at the wonderful Hope Mill Theatre in Manchester. You two must be like beaming every night you're on stage.
Literally, we're having the best time. We're doing a Broadway scale show in such an intimate venue, so wherever you sit, whether it's at the back row or the front row, you feel like you're part of the magic.
And obviously someone has done this over the pond, and this is the first time in the UK that people can really come and see it, and they've got nothing to compare it to. You know, there was no filmed version of this stage show ever. If someone else does it, we'll always know that, oh, we originated that in the UK, which is a crazy thing to say.
So many iconic people have been attached to this musical. Brandy, Whitney Houston.
I wish I could go to the ball.
All the wishes in the world of poppycock and twaddle.
Who are you?
I'm your fairy godmother, honey.
Just feels surreal that we're like being part of that now, but at the same time, this is a brand new, fresh production, so it's so nice to be able to be like, this is my version.
It's possible, it's possible, it's possible.
You co-founded the theatre, you got married here, and this is the first time you two have worked together creatively, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Years ago, we decided to do Cinderella, Rodgers and Hammerstein, and we both fell in love with the original Whitney Houston and Brandy Disney version that was on TV. We both had it on VHS, if anyone can remember.
Oh, I love that you had VHS.
And we both loved it.
I've directed the show, and I've worked with Will, who's co-directed with me, but Will's also choreographed the show, so to be able to come together and work on such a special show, it's just been a dream come true.
You injured your foot.
It was the second show.
You weren't even fully dancing, were you? It was
I was
just
doing
like
do-si-do.
it was the most like basic move.
But I am very happy to be back and to get to finish the run.
Well, I hear Cinderella saying she prefers the boot to the glass slipper anyway. So.
Why not? Yeah, show must go on.
Wow.
How about that for a watch?
Yeah, Suffering for Your Art as well. That is one of my favourite theatres. It's beautiful.
Who would you play if you were in Cinderella?
Cinderella, of course.
Naturally, Elaine, of course, of course. I would have to play a stepsister. The baddies are always the best roles. Always.
So I'll end up sweeping the floor there, won't I? So what's the weather got in store for us? Here's Emma with a forecast.
Mom, wet wipes, toilet or bin?
Bin. Why?
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Thank you and good evening. And I'm afraid there's no fairy tale ending to the weather this week. Lots of mist, fog and anticyclonic gloom. I'll explain that in a moment. And it looks like someone was overdoing it on the smoke machine this morning, as you can see here. Not so much a misty forest or even a big wood, but a park in Burnley. If you're playing frisbee out there this morning, you wouldn't have been able to see it, let alone catch it, or indeed a hand in front of your face. And a few of you have captured these fog bows today. Yes, they really are a thing. And I love all these misty photos. Looks like a spaceman is about to land there. Superb. Keep them coming. So as we move through this week, we're not too hard up, misty and foggy at times, mainly dry, slowly turning cooler, as you can see, but not too nippy, and I shall explain why. There's a massive high building over Russia, nothing too quirky for the time of year, it is to be expected. Builds out to the west here, blocks fronts from the west, from the Atlantic, but it does tend to trap a lot of mist and fog underneath it. That's what we mean by anticyclonic gloom, and that's what we'll have this week. Also, it's not going to be too cold. We're not talking another beast from the east situation. It's actually drawing up air from southeastern Europe, so not as cold as it could be. So as I say, we're not too badly off. Rewinding to the next few hours, and we're expecting less mist and fog than last night, and generally would be frost-free as well, maybe one or two localised pockets, but they'll be very rare, and a bit more mist and fog up over Cumbria as well. Sun's up tomorrow just past 8 in the morning. If you have cloud in the morning, you're probably going to stick with it for most of the day. It's going to be quite cloudy and murky throughout once any early mist lifts. There may be some brighter skies, and I think parts of Merseyside and Cheshire could tap into those. A bit breezy across the Isle of Man, and also cloudy on Thursday. That's the way it's looking for now. Catch you later. Bye-bye.
Cleaned up well.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
And that is about it for myself and Cinderella here.
And tomorrow we're off to the Big Top with a Difference in Rochdale. Man, you've been the ringmaster before, haven't you? Where people get the chance to learn some very tricky circus skills.
We're going to leave you with these live pictures of the fan zone in Manchester with just half an hour to go for the first England versus Wales World Cup clash in 64 years. Just the 8 Northwest players in that starting lineup. So surely we should be OK.
And if Wales win, make sure you head to the lunchbox in Flint for the very naked truth after that lovely double act we heard from earlier. Let's hope it's a good game. Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.